Have you ever swallowed words that were begging to come out? Maybe you felt anger rising in your chest but smiled instead. Or sadness knocked at your door but you turned up the music and pretended not to hear. We all do it. We push feelings down like we're stuffing clothes into an overpacked suitcase, forcing the zipper closed, hoping it holds. But what happens when that becomes your default? When ignoring your emotions isn't just a one-time thing, but a way of life? What really goes on inside your brain and body when you spend months, maybe years, treating your feelings like unwanted guests you refuse to let in? Let's unpack this together. Picture this. Your emotions are like text messages from your inner self. Anger texts you, "Hey, someone just crossed a line." Sadness sends a note saying, "You lost something that mattered." Fear drops a warning, "Pay attention, something feels off." But when you ignore those messages, they don't just vanish, they pile up, unread, unanswered. And your internal system starts glitching because it's screaming into a void that never responds. Scientists call this emotional suppression. It's when you consciously try to hide what you're feeling, both from others and sometimes from yourself. And here's the wild part. Your brain knows you're doing it. Your nervous system registers the emotion in real time. The feeling is there, firing through your neurons, activating your stress response. But then you slam on the brakes. You tell yourself, "Not now, not here, just hold it together." So now your brain is doing two exhausting jobs at once. It's feeling the feeling and fighting the feeling. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater while swimming. You can do it for a little while, but eventually your arms get tired. And that ball, it's going to shoot up to the surface when you least expect it. Let's talk about what happens to your body first, because your body doesn't lie. When you stuff down emotions, they don't dissolve. They settle into your muscles, your organs, your nervous system. Researchers have found that people who chronically suppress their feelings have higher levels of cortisol, that stress hormone that's supposed to spike temporarily and then drop. But when it stays elevated, your immune system weakens, your blood pressure creeps up, inflammation increases. One study tracked thousands of people over 12 years and found something startling. Those who regularly bottled up their emotions had a significantly higher risk of early death and developing serious illnesses, including cancer. Your body is literally keeping tabs on all the things your mouth refuses to say. You might have felt this yourself. That knot in your stomach that never quite goes away. The tension headaches that arrive like clockwork. The exhaustion that sleep doesn't touch. Your body is trying to tell you something. It's holding what you won't release. But it doesn't stop there. Your mental health starts to unravel too. When you make it a habit to ignore what you feel, your brain starts seeing emotions themselves as the enemy. Anxiety builds because you're constantly on high alert, monitoring yourself, making sure nothing leaks out. You're living in a state of internal surveillance, and that's exhausting. Depression often follows. Not because you're sad all the time, but because you're disconnected. You're going through the motions, checking off tasks, showing up to your own life like a spectator. Researchers studying emotional avoidance found it's one of the strongest predictors of anxiety disorders and PTSD. Why? Because when you avoid your feelings, you're teaching your nervous system that emotions are dangerous, that you can't handle them. So your brain stays stuck in threat mode, bracing for the next wave. And then there's the spillover effect. Those emotions you buried, they don't stay quietly filed away. They leak out sideways, often in ways you don't recognize. You snap at your partner over something trivial, not because they did anything wrong, but because you've been swallowing frustration for weeks. You cry during a commercial and you can't even explain why. That's not randomness. That's pressure finding a crack. Maybe the toughest part is what it does to your connections with other people. When you can't express what you're feeling, intimacy becomes impossible. Real closeness requires you to say, "I'm hurting," or "I'm scared," or "I need you." But if you've spent years perfecting the art of "I'm fine," people can't reach you. They sense the wall even if they can't name it. And slowly, the distance grows. You feel misunderstood, alone, even when you're surrounded by people who care. There's also this thing that happens over time. When you numb one emotion, you end up numbing them all. You can't selectively mute sadness and keep joy at full volume. Emotions aren't separate channels, they're interconnected. So when you turn down the hard stuff, you also turn down the good stuff. Life starts feeling muted, flat, like you're watching everything happen from behind fogged glass. If any of this sounds familiar, I want you to know something. You're not broken. You're surviving. But survival mode isn't meant to be permanent. But here's the good news. You can step out of survival mode. Your emotions aren't the problem. Ignoring them is. And once you understand that, everything starts to shift. So how do you actually do this? How do you reconnect with feelings you've been locking away for so long? Let's break it down. Step 1. Put words to what you're feeling. There's actual neuroscience behind this. When you label an emotion, even just silently in your head, it activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that regulates emotions. That activation calms down the amygdala, your brain's alarm system. You're essentially telling your nervous system, "I've got this. I see what's happening here." You don't need to analyze it or fix it, just name it. "I'm anxious right now. I'm frustrated. I'm feeling grief." That simple acknowledgement shifts something. It takes the emotion out of the shadows and into the light where it's less scary. Step 2. Notice where the feeling lives in your body. Emotions aren't abstract concepts floating around in your head. They're physical. Anxiety might show up as a tight chest or a racing heart. Anger could be heat in your face or clenched fists. Sadness might feel like heaviness in your limbs or a lump in your throat. Instead of pushing those sensations away, try getting curious about them. Close your eyes if it helps. Take a slow breath. Ask yourself, where am I feeling this? Then just stay with it for a moment. You're not trying to make it disappear, you're just noticing. This practice, somatic awareness, teaches your system that feelings, even uncomfortable ones, aren't emergencies. They're just information. Step 3. Let the emotion move. Here's something most people don't realize. Emotions are temporary if you let them flow. They're designed to peak and then pass. But when you block them, they get stuck. The word emotion literally comes from the Latin movere, which means to move. They need to move through you. So what does that look like practically? Maybe it's going for a run when you're angry, dancing in your room when anxiety hits, letting yourself cry when sadness comes knocking, punching a pillow, screaming into your car, writing furiously in a journal. These aren't childish. They're how you release what's been trapped. Creative expression works too. Paint something messy, play music loudly, sing in the shower. Researchers have found that physical movement and creative outlets activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps your body shift from fight or flight into rest and digest. You're literally moving the stress out of your system. Step 4. Share it with someone who can hold space. This one's hard, especially if you've been doing the "I'm fine" routine for years. But connection is healing. not advice, not someone trying to fix you or talk you out of your feelings. Just someone who can sit with you and say, I'm here, I hear you, you're not alone in this. That might be a close friend, a therapist, a support group, even an online community. When you speak your emotions out loud to another person, something powerful happens. You're externalizing what's been internal. You're letting another human witness your pain, your fear, your anger. And in that witnessing, the weight gets lighter. You're not carrying it alone anymore. Step 5. Challenge the belief that emotions make you weak. Culture teaches us to hide what we feel. Suck it up. Don't be so sensitive. Be strong. But suppressing your emotions isn't strength. It's self-abandonment. Real strength is feeling the anger and choosing how to respond instead of reacting. It's feeling the sadness and not numbing out with distractions. It's feeling the fear and not letting it make your decisions. Strength isn't the absence of feeling. It's the willingness to feel and move forward anyway. If you learned early on that your emotions weren't safe, that showing vulnerability meant getting hurt, that makes sense. You adapted, you survived. But you don't have to keep living that way. You're allowed to rewrite that story now. You're allowed to believe that your feelings matter, that they're valid, that they don't make you a burden or too much. Start where you are. You don't have to excavate every buried emotion overnight. Pick one. The next time you catch yourself saying, I'm fine, when you're clearly not, pause. Take a breath. Check in with yourself. What am I actually feeling right now? And just sit with the honest answer. No judgment, no rush to fix it, just truth. Your emotions are messengers, not mistakes. They're trying to tell you something important about your needs, your boundaries, your values, your hurts. When you start listening instead of silencing, you give yourself the chance to heal, to connect, to live fully instead of just going through the motions. You don't have to keep pretending. You don't have to keep white-knuckling your way through life. And you don't have to do this perfectly. Just start, one feeling at a time. So here's my question for you. What's one emotion you've been pushing down that's ready to be heard? Drop your answer in the comments. Let's talk about it. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you want more honest conversations about mental health and psychology, subscribe. We're building a space where it's safe to be real. Thanks for being here. And remember, your feelings aren't the enemy. Ignoring them is.